RNA but don't make proteins, like transfer RNA agents, and we'll come to examples of those two. So we talk about these as well. Okay, so one example of a classic mutation in a region that does not code for a protein is in lactose tolerance. So I'm guessing there is a group of you who can drink milk as adults, and there's a group of you who can't drink milk as adults, correct? So I'm also going to make an assumption that most of you think the inability to drink milk as adults is the mutant phenotype, correct? That if you can't drink milk as an adult, you're a mutant, right? No? Most of you think it's the other way around? Why? Why do you think that people who can drink milk are mutants as adults? As adults are mutants? No pejorative term. The mutant is just being used as a word here.
Because we're the only mammals that do it as adults?
Yes. We are the only mammals who learn the ability and insist on drinking milk as adults. Usually all animals stop drinking milk the minute they're weaned away from the mother. And we did the same thing until agriculture came along and animal husbandry came along. And so the mutations that allow adults to drink milk is a classic example of human evolution. We are evolving as a consequence of our ability to go through and have domesticate animals. It's another example of human evolution. Remember I talked about sickle cell anemia as a form of human evolution. Lactose tolerance is another form of human evolution taking place within the last 8 to 10,000 years. Because remember, animal husbandry only came about 10,000 years ago. That we started to domesticate animals for meat and milk and other products. So you can see evolution taking place in front of your eyes. Okay, so lactose is basically glucose and galactose. And there is an enzyme called lactase that will take lactose and digest it into little fragments, which are absorbed by in your small intestine and basically are used for energy. And of course, remember the hypothesis, one gene, one enzyme. So there is a single gene that makes the protein, the lactase enzyme, which then allows you to digest lactose. So in human infants, lactase is secreted in the intestine, which breaks down lactose into glucose and galactose and is absorbed. In adults, this enzyme is repressed. The production of this enzyme is killed off because normally humans don't need this enzyme as adults. And so the body is trying to save energy. It basically turns off this enzyme in your cells of your intestine. So they don't secrete the lactase into the lumen and it doesn't digest. No. And the unabsorbed lactose creates problems for most individuals. In some humans, this enzyme is continuously being produced throughout adulthood. Okay? These individuals are lactose absorbers. So, in the individuals where they can absorb or make lactase as adults, is the mutation going to be dominant or recessive? Think about it. What do you guys think? If you can make, let's imagine an individual. Let's draw this out. This is a fun exercise. I'm going a little slow because I'm really rushing through this lecture and I don't want you guys to get sticker shock or whatever. Yeah, so let's imagine an individual, normally adults, right? Wild type adults. Lactase minus, correct? So what's the phenotype we are studying? Ability to drink milk. Okay, that's the phenotype. That's the experiment we want to ask. Ability to digest milk. That's your phenotype. Imagine you want to go study that. All right. So the enzyme is repressed in adults, in the wild type adults, and you are lactose minus. Now, if you make the enzyme, so if you're able to produce enzyme, you basically have a mutant phenotype. Right? So, it's caused by a mutation in one gene, this lactase gene. Will it be dominant or will it be recessive? It will be dominant. The minute you produce even a small amount of the lactase enzyme, you'll be able to digest milk. And you will be able to digest milk, and you'll be able to basically have a mutant phenotype. Because the wild type phenotype is you're not able to digest milk as happens. So it's a dominant mutation. It's an autosomal dominant mutation. It's on one of the autosomes. Okay? So absorption is an autosomal dominant mutation. So let's look at how it works. Okay? So let's skip all this. So when you sequence these genes for the lactase enzyme from individuals that can digest milk and individuals that can't digest milk, you find that they're totally normal. Both classes have exactly the same sequence. The mutation doesn't lie within the region of the gene. It lies actually almost 14,000 base pairs upstream of the gene. It's in the enhancer of the gene. It's in the sequence of the enhancer of the gene. There is, and the mutation changes one nucleotide, goes from CCCCAGGC to a mutation that goes TCCCAGGC. So it's a change of a C to a T. Now this sequence in normal individuals is bound by a protein in adults. And this protein will basically block transcription of the gene. So the protein is a repressor that represses transcription of the gene. Normally, when you make this mutation, this protein can't bind and block transcription. And because it can't block transcription, this gene is continuously made into RNA and it's continuously made into protein. And so you can digest. So it's a mutation in the enhancer sequence that binds a repressor, transcription repressor. And that inability to bind the transcription repressor leads to continuous production of the enzyme, leads to you becoming able to digest milk as happens. So it's an example of a mutation in the enhancer of the gene, the non-coding region. Yeah? Is this? Yes?
What creates a spectrum of people who are super lactose intolerant versus some people?
It's probably a lot to do with how the enzyme is secreted out of the cell as well, because there are probably additional levels of regulation there. It's also to do with whether you're heterozygous or homozygous for this, because the amount of lactase you secrete will affect the amount of milk you can digest. If you have a very large dose of milk, then you might have problems. When you have tiny amounts, you may be able to cope with them. So there are probably other reasons. Proteins, when they're secreted, they have additional requirements. The transporters out of the intestinal cells will also have to be able to continue functioning. And maybe those are downregulated as well occasionally. And so you could have problems on those issues. So I don't know the exact answer, but it's very likely to be additional mutants in the pathway that leads to this.
So, is lactose intolerance still people are?
Most people in the world, if you look at the entire world, most people are still lactose intolerant. In communities where there is greater animal husbandry, like in Northern Europe or in Southern Asia, where they drink a lot of milk, there is a much greater prevalence of individuals who are lactose tolerant. And so, yes, absolutely. All right, so let's take a break and then we'll continue with the rest of this. Hopefully, we'll finish this lecture today. It will be amazing what happened.